was established. And he promoted the school also, by sending, many of his children to Armitage. Now, soon after independence, this euphoria of renaming, okay, the colonial rule had ended, so there was this, desire to rename. So some of the houses and the kundas, which I had just explained, were renamed. And there was this very curious choice of naming them, after, some of the great, Gambian states and empires, which existed, prior to the coming of, colonial rule. We had Salum, Nyani, Fuladu, and Cabo. Somebody asked, why, was Ekunda named after Salum? Salum was one of the great Gambian states, okay? It covered a huge area. In fact, you had, Salum in Senegal and, of course, like in the Gambia. But when the borders were delimited in 1889, the French and the British, they just drew the line. So, you had Salum in Senegal and Bishop in the Gambia. It just as you have the Fogis, some of it in Senegal, and okay. So really, it was one of the great, Gambian states, okay. The Kunda was named after, this state. And I also had another, Kunda, named Nyani. It was also one of the, great Gambian states, prior to the, coming of the Europeans. And really, Nyani is important because for a very, very long time, there was, some very, very interesting resistance movement against colonial rule. Led by a famous king, called Kemintan Kamara. Maybe in your history you have heard of him. For almost 12 years.
It's my grandfather.
For almost 12 years, Kemintan fought against the Europeans. He didn't want the Europeans to annex his empire or his kingdom into the colonial state. Okay? And for almost 12 years, he resisted. Okay? The annexation of Nyani, into British rule, until he was overpowered. By superior, firearms. Now, another important state name after, this house is, was Fuladu. Now, Fuladu is the great, empire of Alpha Molo, and later Musa Molo. After, the Kabu empire was defeated, okay, in 1867, by the Fullers, okay. Alpha Molo established this great, Fuller Empire, called Fuladu, which covered a large part of present-day Gambia and Senegal, and even present-day Guinea-Bissau.
Put your hands together for the Fullers and for the Wolofs and for the Mandingos and for the Ajamatao. Who knows Ajamatao? How do you know? Thank you.
So Fuladu was really one of the, great, Gambian states, when Alpha Molo died, he was succeeded by his son, Musa. Now from history, Musa Molo, he was really an astute leader.
He's wrapping up. He has 5 minutes.
Diplomat. He was like a clever diplomat, as you have read. Now and then he will side with the British, okay, and now and then he will side with the French. So he was able to play the British against the French, and he was able to survive, for a very, very long time, until his death in 1931. So Fuladu really was, one of the famous Gambian states. And now I've just mentioned about Cabo, the great Mandinka, empire. After the fall of Mali in 1537. The Cabo Empire, arose and, remained strong until it was defeated by the Fullers in 1867. Okay? So this, empire or state, was also named after one of the, states. Like one of the, houses of Kundas. So you could see that the choice of the, renaming of the houses, as you will see, had very, very strong historical roots in some of the famous empires and states. States, which predated the arrival of the Europeans. Now, Armitage really continued to grow, and one interesting thing which you should note was it was only really in the late 1950s that the first batch of female students were admitted. Like I said, it was originally for sons of chiefs, but around 1958, 1959, the first batch of female students were enrolled. And now the school became open for all Gambians, from all walks of life. And so from the following you can see that our school has a rich history, and really is one of the schools to be proud of.
Your hands together for Armitage. On a final note, listen very carefully. On a final note,
from humble beginnings, as a school earmarked for the sons of chiefs, it has now become a school for all Gambians, boys and girls.
hands together, boys and girls.
Today we can count on our alumni, some of the most important Gambians, including vice presidents, cabinet and state ministers, senior civil servants, and other notable citizens who have played a salient role in the development of our country. We salute Armitage for nurturing us and keeping us good and productive citizens. Now for the class of 1996 in particular.
Our class, hands together.
I say thank you.
You are jealous. Hands together for my class.
In particular, I say thank you for your invitation and for this very, very important initiative. Okay, it's a very, very important initiative, and I want to encourage you to continue on this great path you are taking, and I pray that it may lead you to the right places for now and forever. Thank you very much.
Most lively chairperson.
Put your hands together for the most lively chairperson.
This is very good. Are we having interference? Now, as he just said, my name is Madi Jabate. I'm from Boraba. Apparently, I seem to be the odd man here, or the odd person here, because I never went to Armitage High School.
Please, the guest of honor, your hands together.
I missed? Yes, I've never been to Armitage High School, yet so close.
And he's from Boraba.
But yes, so really, I feel so honored for that. That I'm invited to come to talk to Armitage High School school boys and girls, and former, students of Armitage High School, and especially on an occasion that is to honor two individuals.
Can we please have silence?
Yes, to honor two individuals who I have to take a minute to talk about them. Really.
Give me my mic back.
Okay, so I wish to recognize your principal and all of the people up here, and of course, you the wonderful boys and girls. I first got to know about this about a month or two ago when your former head boy, Lamin Konate, who is a great friend of mine, brought up this idea. And I said it's a great idea. Maybe this is Gambia's Nobel Prize, award, or as we have it, to honor individuals for their outstanding contribution. Certainly, this kind of things take place in the Gambia. We know there are sports awards and other forms of awards. But it is a very significant initiative, a very important initiative.
Can we have silence, please? It's very important what he's saying.
Yeah, not just for 1996 batch for doing what they are doing, and which for me links up to what I'm going to talk about, but also for you, the schoolboys and girls, because you will also become like them. That is, you will eventually become students of Armitage High School? Are you going to follow in that tradition or not? It is also significant because we have teachers here who are currently teaching, and it's an inspiration that they're witnessing former teachers being honored. And so what would that help is to inspire those teachers that are on campus right now to deliver, to perform, to give their best to you, so that they will also hopefully be recognized by you in some years to come. So when you look at it from all of these three perspectives, you realize therefore this is a very important event, and I hope many more schools in the Gambia would emulate what the 1996 batch has conceived. Now, in the communications, myself and Lamin, we talked about a lot of things. So, what am I going to do? And in the general talk, well, think of something you want to talk about. But what am I going to talk about? I've never been to Armitage High School. I want to see the event unfold. I want to be a witness, just an observer. But no, Lamin said, no, you have to be, you have to say something. And so in the discussions, yeah, so in the discussions, somehow the purpose of life came. Now, the purpose of life.
I want to say, sorry, Madi, we are here, the most important aspect that was for them is gone. This one is for you. And it's important next time when you walk out of this assembly hall, you know exactly what we are doing. You know the problem with Gambians? They solve. Legi dama buga ngeen wuy ndax ngeen eewu. Yena muna hoole, yena muna hoole, aja, yena muna hoole, yena muna hoole, yena muna hoole, yena muna hoole. Ah, hoole rek, do leen tàccu, do leen wax, do leen def dara, toog rek mel ni stadio. Yena
thank you, Mr. Chairman. Okay. So, boys and girls, this purpose of life, the purpose of life, listen, just before I go into that, as I said, I'm so elated that you have identified two individuals, who are seriously mixed up in my own life. And really, I feel proud, I feel very happy, and I know these two individuals, that is Njondo and Hasum, they deserve this, and they deserve this. And to give you just a brief background, I first encountered Hasum probably about 20 years ago now. We went to university together. We studied at the University of Sierra Leone. And as young boys going to school in Sierra Leone, on campus, the campus was very lively. Hello? Hello? Okay. Am I boring or something? Okay.
They are boring on the contrary, they are very boring.
Okay.
Look at them.
Maybe we've been sitting for a while. Okay, so Hasum and I, to just cut a long story short, we have a very vibrant Gambian Students' Union on campus. So many Gambians go to study in the University of Sierra Leone. But together, we love writing, we love journalism, and it's no surprise that Hasum has become, if not the leading Gambian historian, current historian, and which, of course, I know that is going to be the destiny of Hasum eventually. So we established a newspaper on campus, that is Forabe College, University of Sierra Leone, and we called it Banjul Corner. Banjul Corner. So he and I served as the editors and the reporters, and we would seek news from all the way in the Gambia through radio. Forabe College is about 5,000 meters above sea level. So we would go to the highest peak just to get Radio Gambian news at 10 o'clock in order to report it in Banjul Corner in the next morning.
You hands together for that good one. Very good one. I like that one.
So, and honestly, I think we were serious in the work we were doing. But for me, the level of dedication, the passion that I saw in Hasum at that time served as an inspiration for me. So
your hands are together for Mr. Cisse once again, please. That was inspirational.
Yeah. So there I know here is a man who's got a sense of purpose, who knows what is the meaning of life, who knows what's the purpose of life. And up to now, 20 years later, I'm still seeing Hasum as that passionate, dedicated, hard-working young man, getting old now. He's out with his son, okay?
His son on the extreme side.
Yeah, who is seeking to serve. Who is seeking to serve. You know, so I can go on and on to talk about Hasum, but that is how I've interacted and how Hasum has inspired me.
Your hands together for Mr. Cisse once again.
Okay, and you know, we've become very close in the past 10 years, but within a circle of friends that goes back probably to childhood. His best friend, my best friend, you know, his acquaintance. You know, when we draw the circle, one would realize that this goes way down to my childhood. You know, and so in my professional life, having come to contact with Jundu, you know, I've said this, and really, I mean, I know he's my nemesis. He's my UDP or my APRC or. All right, so I'm going to have some time.
Somebody,
yeah.
Can you clap for that, for the relationship, yeah?
But I thank God that I have met an individual that I found to have very high standards of personal conduct, personal behavior.
Absolutely, your hands together for that.
Yeah. Which, for me, has served to be my measurement, you know, so that, you know, in serious critical issues, personal issues, sometimes I'd ask myself, what would you have done in this situation? You know, am I falling below the standards that he has set? And really, once again, here's an individual who has helped to put me on a path that, you know, defines what is the purpose of life, what is the essence of life. You know what I'm saying? So, to talk about purpose life, therefore, on an occasion, about honoring these two individuals, what more can one say than to present to you the lives of these two people? You know, and I think the chairperson and the class of 1996,
yep,
you know, have shown that indeed this is a life to celebrate.
Your hands together, a life to celebrate. You are sleeping, you. And you are sleeping. And you, stop sleeping.
Yeah, this is a life to emulate, this is a life that can inspire. Now, I'm not a religious person. I mean, what should I say? I'm not a religious leader. I'm not an imam or ustaz or a pastor. I know in the religions, the purpose of life. What is the purpose of life?
Yep.
As Muslims, we say that God created us for us to worship Him and to be sincere to Him.
Your hands together.
Full stop.
Your hands together once again.
So if you should ask me, what is the purpose of life? Is to worship Allah, worship God, and to be sincere to Him.
That's the religious perspective. Listen to the rest. The most interesting thing.
That's the religious perspective. And to worship Allah, what does that entail? So, if I were an imam, I can take another 1 hour, 2 hours to talk about just that. All right, but as I said, I'm not a pastor, I'm not an imam. All right. In my readings, I've come across various ideas about life. In ancient Greece, there was a man called Epicurus who said life is to enjoy, more or less.
Oh yeah, I belong there.
To drink and to be merry. All right? But there was another great philosopher in ancient Greece called Socrates. I'm sure in the course of your studies, you'll come to know about all of this in the
Socrates is my grandfather, Socrates. Yeah.
Who said, you know, essentially that the purpose of life is to do the good. To do the good.
To do the good.
To do what is just. You know,
we have seen worship, we have seen enjoy, which I want, and then to do good. Okay?
But again, I'm not a philosopher, and really I'm not here to talk to you about history. What I can most identify myself with is that I consider myself a social worker, a Pan-Africanist. I'm not sure what...
Pan-Africanist?
Yeah, a Pan-Africanist.
I know about it.
And I would add a revolutionary Pan-Africanist. And really, as a young boy going to primary school, going to high school, until I get to University of Sierra Leone, I have held the view, and probably which most of us hold right now, is that the purpose of life is to get money.
Yeah.
To get material things.
Yes.
So that as a schoolboy, it's to pass my exams, pass your exams in order to get, graduate with flying colors, get a good job, and get a good house, a good wife, a beautiful wife, a handsome husband, and a good car and good life. And most of us, our parents, our teachers, a lot of elders who speak to me many years ago, speak to me from that perspective, that is the purpose of life. But as I said, in the course of my life, in the course of my studies, at one point I began to reflect, in fact, what is this life we are talking about? What is this purpose of life we're talking about? And I want to refer to one individual who helped to transform my whole perspective about life. And that's an individual called Franz Fanon.
Franz Fanon.
Franz Fanon.
Franz Fanon.
Franz Fanon. Now, a host of you probably may have never heard of his name, but I'm sure...
I'm hearing it for the first time.
Yeah,
to be honest.
we will get to know. Franz Fanon was a black man, like you and me, from Martinique in the Caribbean, who, Martinique was a French, it's like Jamaica and Britain, so Martinique was a French territory. And...
Can we have perfect decorum in this room?
Yeah.
Those who don't know what perfect decorum is, you go and ask Jaja and Sly. Gigantic and Sly. Okay? Please listen. We are getting to the most interesting aspect. I don't know how you people listen, but how I used to listen and take notes is that I just want to get the very important point. He has given you religious perspectives. He's getting into the actual deep side. He's looking at somebody who has inspired him. You should be listening to capture the main point. Sorry, Jawata, for this. I just want them to be...
Fanon was a black man in Martinique, but studied psychiatry and was posted in Algeria at a time when the French were colonizing that country to help, in the hospitals. And he saw what colonialism was doing to a colonized people, an oppressed people. And out of that, he wrote a book called The Wretched of the Earth. The Wretched of the Earth. That is the downtrodden, the miserable, really. And in this book, he made a statement there that each generation, listen to this statement, that has served to help me to define, to discover my own purpose of life, my own mission in life. He said each generation must discover its mission. Each generation must discover its mission.
Hands together for that. Hands together. You people are not clapping. Hands together for that. Once again. One more time. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. So it says each generation must discover its mission to fulfill or to betray. So one, you have to discover your mission. Two, to fulfill that mission or you betray that mission. So you are a generation right now. You people are a generation. Jumdu Hasum are a generation. Batch of 1996, is or was a generation, and they have all discovered their missions.
Your hands together for that, please.
So you are a generation. So that you sit right here, as you are sitting down, or you go back to your dormitories, you're in your class, you go home, you're on your bed with your pillow. Do you ask yourself, what is my mission in life? Why am I here? You can take it from the religious perspective. Why did God create me? And therefore, for me, what helped to define to my purpose of life came out of this book, from this individual. And in my studies, These are not studies that are in the curriculum, that are in the classroom. These are studies I do outside. In my research, I came across a host of individuals that helped to tell me, expose me to what actually is the purpose of life. And this is why I said I'm a Pan-Africanist. Because
Africanist once again. Your hands together.
Right. So
those who are sleeping both.
In this research, these individuals have come to realize. I mean, I read the life of somebody like Patrice Lumumba from the Congo. And, you know, a young man who dedicated his life to see that his people are free, who was working in the colonial service. He could have been contented with the privileges that he was enjoying in the colonial service, but decided to position himself on a path that is going to see the liberation of his people. Now, back at home, one of the people that helped to further clarify this, my vision of life, is somebody called Edward Francis Small. Now, I'm sure that in your histories you must have come across a person like Edward Francis Small, you know, who in the 1920s was agitating for Gambians to have representative institutions, democratic institutions, for people to have a say in the way the Gambia, our resources and our affairs are going to be managed. This is way back in the 1920s. In fact, he had a slogan that says, no taxation without representation.
No taxation without representation. Hands together for that.
So I think Edward Francis Small, at a very early stage in his life, when he also could have been very contented with material gain, because he was educated, he is from the Aku ethnic group that we are largely educated and connected with the colonial system, who could have had any job and, you know, live comfortably in the Gambia. But he discovered that his purpose of life is not to see his people being treated like wretched of the earth. Rather, he would want to make himself an instrument, a tool to see how to uplift his people. So I can list a host of individuals that, you know, in their lives, somebody like Kwame Nkrumah, for example, I can speak without mentioning Kwame Nkrumah, that have shown me what is the purpose of life. That they have privileges, they have opportunities for which they could have been, you know, they could focus on and live a very comfortable, uneventful life, but decided to go through the trials and the tribulations of life in order to define themselves. And now we are doing this a day after a great man like Mandela passed away.
Your hands together for Nelson Mandela.
You said in 1994, 1992, or 91, Jundu told you that Mandela.
That was a prophecy from Jundu.
Yeah. And now you look at the life of Mandela. Really, Mandela was trained as a lawyer. He could have been a very wealthy. Lawyers are usually wealthy in any society you go to. He could have been quite contented with it and take cases in the apartheid courts, but he decided to forgo that 27 years. Do you know that there was a time when he was in prison that Mandela was asked that if you could just be silent, let them, they would free him so that he wouldn't agitate anymore. He said he would rather stay the rest of his life in jail. There was a time they proposed to him that they would bring his wife so that he can have sexual encounter with his wife. And he refused, just because the other prisoners are not going to have the same privilege.
Your hands together for Mandela.
Can you imagine? 27 years, you are in jail. And you refuse your wife simply because you have a principle.
Good. I was taught by Mr. Cisse Hassan. Hassan taught us Form 1. And Nyundu continued in Form 2, because they were all young men or boys then. Hassan said at some point, Mandela said, I'll not sell the birthright of my people to be free. He told that to Porter or somebody else. So your hands together big time for that great fallen hero, Nelson Mandela.
So these are individuals that, for me, help to show me what is life, what is the mission of life, what is the purpose of life, that I see reflected in their lives. And I say this thing because, as I said, when this issue came up, I could have come here and as I told Lamin, I just want to share my own life experiences. How did I discover my own purpose of life? that I'm not going to present any paper. I'm not going to read from any paper. I'm just going to speak to you as my daughters and sons and nephews and nieces and little brothers and sisters. What really should be your purpose in this life?